ZăPodcast cu Bogdan și Ghilea.
Hello and welcome to our podcast, ZăPodcast. We are here for our first edition in English because we have as a guest a musician from America, from Seattle. He's the lead singer and guitarist of the band Acid Tounge. Hello and welcome.
Hello, guys. How are you doing?
We're good.
Oh, good here.
Hope you're
right.
good also.
I'm at my mom's house right now. Actually, I I live down the road, but she has better internet.
Oh, okay.
It's better than
Yeah, my internet sucks. Yeah.
As the first question, we were thinking of asking you, how did you start to sing?
I don't even know, man. I feel like I was always scared to sing, and I used to write songs, but I would have other people sing the songs, and I would just be a guitar player. And I started by singing backup vocals. So I joined a group when I was in high school. Out here, I think is at college for you guys. But I joined a group when I was about 16 years old. And I started playing bass guitar for them as a fill-in, and I began singing for them. And then kind of took on more of a band leader role and started singing lead on some songs, and eventually just started forming my own bands after that and feeling more confident to be the front person for a group. I never saw myself as a front person till I was much older, well into my 20s by that point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One question I really want to ask is, where do you get your inspiration for your song? They are very great songs, very well written, and it's my curiosity. Where do you inspire from? Live events, artists, music in general?
I kind of like to take a fusion of things. I feel like this band was born out of my travels. And I was in the previous rock and roll group that I was in Seattle was called Fox and the Law. And we didn't really achieve any greater success. We were mostly just doing really great things in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, Portland, touring down to Los Angeles. But towards the end of my existence with that group, we were touring Europe, and we were starting to get out and getting all over the United States. And it was really cool to experience the road together, to experience that kind of life of being a musician, but also there's a lot of low points, it strains your relationships. It's the drug use can be really intense for people if that's something they get into. There is a lot of promiscuity, if you're a promiscuous person, this can be a bad environment for you. And I think that those things started to take a toll on my mental health. And Acid Tounge was born out of me trying to have these deeper conversations about sort of my mental well-being not being there. I was having a lot of issues, and I was drinking very heavily and using drugs and such. And I needed an outlet that wasn't those things, that wasn't sex, that wasn't drug use. And I started writing honestly, and from the heart with Acid Tounge, and kind of addressing some of my fears and my desires and things. And also, we're in a very polarized political environment, being in this massive capitalist country in America. So we have this big bad wolf hanging over our shoulders every day in America. And, there's all this fucking gun violence right now. There is all this racial disparity. And a lot of those things come up in my music. I'm very politically aware of what's going on. And I'm not trying to necessarily make, sort of a commentary one way or another. I don't go out and fucking hang signs from my door and say, this is what I believe. But I do think that my music has to address these things that I care about. So there is a big aspect of that where I'm like, yes, I'm an American. And yes, this country is fucked up. And I like to talk about that in our songs and sort of in how we play with that.
It's like your own message, and whoever wants to listen to it can listen to your songs. Right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question, Andre.
Yep. I just saw about you guys that you open your own record label. Where did you got that idea for opening and going along with other big labels? And how is it?
So it's fun to be involved in the music industry. I was actually working for a major festival and venue in town in Seattle, and I was doing marketing for these venues and this festival, and I began starting my own festival. I started a festival called the Freakout Festival in Seattle, and that is sort of a vehicle for championing very underground psychedelic rock, garage rock artists that we love that wouldn't usually play quite as big stages in Seattle. They may only play a little tiny club. I'm able to have access to these larger rooms and put these bands on the right stage to a full audience, so they're not touring through and playing to nobody, which is very easy to do. It's really hard to tour in the US, especially on the West Coast. And so I began that festival, and I met a ton of bands that I love that weren't really doing much. They would kind of stick around for a few years, and then nothing would really happen, and they'd break up, and they'd all start other projects. And I wanted to start helping some of these bands stick together and put out their music. So, my business partner in the festival, this guy Skylar, that also he's his other job is working for KEXP in Seattle. We started the label together. And we decided to start taking some of these bands that we really care about and giving them just slightly more resources. And we don't always have money, like in a big way. We don't have these huge budgets like major indie labels do, like Sub Pop. But where we lack on that level, we've been around the block. I'm an actively touring musician that has connections, not just in the States. I'm traveling through Mexico and Europe all the time, and I can kind of help these bands get on small labels out there and do certain things. So Freak Out became this collective at first, and now it's become a much larger label because of that. We were able to leverage our relationships to help our friends out.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is quite a noble act for the music industry, because we know it as well. Here, like in Romania, I just saying this short example. Here, the record labels, they are just strictly on like pop music. That's just that. There are no influentials out of it, and like you said, to have connections with other states and to help some small bands who you like their sound, they like their positive vibes that they have as group. And it's quite hard here to open your own label, and so because of the state's politics and so on. So yeah, you did a great job, man, and keep it up.
Thank you. Did you guys feel? I'm sorry to be asking you questions, but
no problem.
In Romania, is there a big vinyl culture? Is there a big culture around buying vinyl records, that sort of thing? Do people do that?
It's kind of starting. I mean, it's way back, but it's starting. People are getting more and more into vinyl.
Got it.
But I don't think it's that popular like in the States.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a hipster thing in the States still. It's what the hip people do.
The thing is the same. I think it's the same in Romania, for example, because music lovers had CDs, cassettes, and vinyls. Yeah. And other people that are not in the same, they don't love music so much, they become attracted to the look of vinyls and just the look of them, and that's why they are collecting them.
Yeah, it's an art piece. It's like buying art.
Yeah.
But not just the noise that it makes. I mean, looking at a vinyl is beautiful, Yeah. And I think that's something that I really have enjoyed doing with Freak Out Records, is having the chance to make something that is aesthetically pleasing, and not just in your ears, but in your eyes and everything. And I love this that's kind of the philosophy of our festival, is to be a full sensory experience. most of the festivals in America, when you look at things like Coachella or Bonnaroo or all these major festivals, they fucking suck. They fucking suck. It's hot outside. It's a big field with a bunch of fucking young teenagers on ecstasy or fucking cocaine or whatever, and it's disgusting and people are fucking rude and you spend a fortune. It's a lot of money to go. And I think something that we've done with our festival with Freak Out is I'm a fucking punk, and we keep the fucking cost of this thing low. So you come out and you don't spend that much money. And you're in clubs, you're not outside or anything. You're bouncing around all these cool nightclubs and it's dirty and grimy and there's the smell of fucking beer everywhere. And there's people really sweating with each other, but actually like not on their phones, It's not just the wave of phones all the time. It's people experiencing music, and a lot of people have this kind of communal vibe about it. And it's what I love about making music. Versus this kind of corporate culture that, seems so popularized because of money. It's just easier to get things out there when you have a huge budget.
I mean, it's very great, and I think music brings you together. Like you're saying, it's a community. That's what music is all about, bringing people together with music, with art in general, visual art or bands or in the scenery, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that I have found the most important thing to me is being authentic with the music I make and the things that I do. And so I usually am willing to sacrifice certain types of success that would be seen as success. I don't care about certain things because I want to feel in my heart, like when I die, I don't want to like have regret,
You want to leave something behind you.
Absolutely. And I do not want to live I don't want to live a life full of regret. And that's super important to me with the music I make is this sort of honesty, because the second you try to jump onto trends and what's trendy, you're a fucking loser, like it means that you don't set trends. And I think a lot of, American bands can be bandwagon bands at times. And they'll fly into what's trendy. And I feel like I've always remained consistent of this is what I like and this is what I'm going to make. And it doesn't mean that it's even good. I've made music that I don't even like listening to anymore, but I fucking meant it when I made it, and that means something to me to see that. Like, I'd rather see myself doing that than have this 3-year span where I was writing these weird records that sucked, because that was what was cool 10 years ago. Because that shows history will be the judge of you. And historically speaking, you can tell, like, look at how bad all of the bands from the 60s and 70s got when the 80s hit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The trend went.
They tried to go 80s and it looked awful on the old people. You know what I mean? Like it fit Madonna, it fit the Go-Go's, it fit those bands. But it doesn't, like when you look back on some of these other acts and you look at their 1980s records, you're like, what the fuck were they, how much cocaine were they doing?
It was indeed strange times. But yeah, I think in music, you got to find your own voice and speak your own kind of language, And once you find that, you attract the same kind of people as you, and you build a community around your music. And that's great.
Yes, and it's all about connecting with that community on a regular basis. Like, that relationship can go on forever if you want it to, and if you respect that relationship. But the second you disrespect that relationship, fans are so fickle. They don't, like, they might come back if you get trendy again, but you can't disrespect a long-term fan or they're going to be gone forever,
Of course, yeah. Bogdan?
We know that, for example, in your band, basically you and one more drummer are the founding members, basically.
Yes.
How did you guys meet, basically, to form this band?
He's a few years younger than me, and when I was working for the music festival and working in marketing, he would reach out to me for advice because he was a fan of my band at the time. And used to come to all our shows and had his own project. He was working in a rock band and wanted me to help guide sort of them breaking out of Seattle. and he's like, we need to get beyond this city. And I really we didn't vibe very well at first, you know. He was kind of he was a nuisance, you know, but it was just because he was young and very hungry. And we got to know each other more. And Ian is like, dude, he's the manager now of everything. Like he's the guy who knows what he's talking about. Like, I feel like I still do what I do with my label, but I'm very much an artist, and I'm very much a spacey person. And Ian is much more analytical at certain things, and is very, very good at, he doesn't want us to follow trends or anything like that per se, but he is also good at knowing what needs to get done, when it needs to get done, and kind of also in the studio helping to shape the final vision of the songs. Because I can only go so far with how I write, but Ian is really the one that kind of puts the gloss on the whole product. And in the studio, he's so crucial as a producer. And even though he doesn't have much in terms of producing credits thus far, he's taken on a huge role in the last few years as like managing the production of every album. And he really understands kind of what it takes to kind of get rid of the bullshit in a song. Ian goes, no, this is unnecessary. This is absolutely necessary. He has a very good ear for those sorts of things. And so we collaborate, you know, very well right now, because I need somebody like that in the studio that there's only one other person, right? So I need somebody who's very strong-willed and strong-minded to guide this whole process. And he nails it every time, you know, when and we have frustrating days. But as far as band members work together, we've developed a really close bond, because we don't want anybody else around, you know, unless it's musicians we like. So we tend to pick people that we bring in that are really cool, that get along with us. But at the end of the day, it's us two making the calls. It's us two kind of living and dying for these songs.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very, very nice. What I wanted you to ask you, what is your most interesting clip, or the one you filmed around your music videos? The one that comes to mind, it's how is the story of the Humpty Dumpty video? I mean, it's the first time I saw it, I was a little, okay, this is awesome. I mean, this is I'm digging it, but what is it?
Humpty Dumpty is this song that I kind of had started in high school. I was really young. I was probably 15 or 16 when I started writing that song. I wrote the first, maybe the verses and stuff, and I recorded a demo of it back then. And it wasn't great, you know, at the time. It was rock and roll like it is. It actually didn't change too much, but it just, I hadn't grown into it yet, you know? And I brought it back into my catalog when I was trying to figure out, that was right in the beginning of Acid Tounge. I was like, I don't know what I want to do next, you know? And that song took on this whole new life with sort of commentary on my relationships at the time. So that song's really about trying to change yourself, you know, and really feeling fragile, you know, Humpty Dumpty sat on the whole wall thing. And the music video was really funny because I had just moved to New York City when I started Acid Tounge, and my girlfriend at the time was a photographer in fashion, and she worked with a stripper on one of her jobs one day, and she met this stripper that was one of the models for a job, and she asked the stripper if she wanted to come and pose. This girl was great, by the way, but that was kind of their background, was that whole thing.
Awesome,
and
yeah.
She really loved the song, and like they kind of brought the idea back to me a bit, you know, because I hadn't thought about what I wanted to do for a video. But I mean, I think when you work at a strip club, you have, you know, a lot of those like societal walls that are built are brought down, you know, and the whole sexual politics of it was interesting for me because I kind of liked how ballsy she was with what she was willing to do in the video, and how we made it sort of artistic instead of like heavily sexualized, you know. We did it in my apartment. I just put up like, all the lighting is in my it's my in my Brooklyn apartment. We were, you know, shot that video in Bed-Stuy.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had a couple friends come over and give us a hand, but it was my girlfriend at the time, Stephanie. She helped me direct that whole thing and put everything together for it. And she really has a great eye for photography, so it translated well to the screen. And we worked together on a few music videos like that. So, you know, it was cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
nice.
Really digging it.
For example, I'm in film school, and I love watching people doing very big looking stuff. But for
Mhm.
example, in apartments, like for example, I know a guy that his name is Daniel Schiffert, and
Mhm.
he's doing commercials for big brands like Monster, uh, Milka, stuff like that, Lay's.
Yeah,
And he's doing most of his work in his apartment.
it's possible.
And
I mean, it's
yeah,
really easy to do that. I would say that I do a lot. You'd be surprised at how often, even living in New York City, where they have so many studios and things, that there's so much content being filmed in a little dinky studio apartment or space like that because it's cheap. And it's because
yeah,
the budgets have shrunk for these things these days because technology has changed. And so you have to always be competing. So a lot of these people own their own camera and bring everybody to their house and are like, we're doing it here.
yeah, yeah. And also, for example, for cinema cameras, they downgraded from big, gigantic boxes to little Rubik cubes that you
Yes.
can shoot fantastic stuff with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You know, it's made it accessible for us because I don't know how it was done in the 60s because I didn't live there. And I'm sure it's never been easy to be an artist, but the game has changed substantially, especially in the last, you know, decade, 2 decades or so, because of the internet, because of all that. And so I feel, although it's a curse that the world is fucking ending right now, I think it's
Yeah.
really fortunate for people like us that we can communicate the way we can. I mean, look at you guys and I talking right now. This is how I reach people. And it all stems from technology supporting us, you know? And so I am thankful for some of these luxuries that we have in our lives and these privileges, you know, like being able to communicate on this level, because it's what allows us to enjoy better music and better art. It's not just about enjoying art, because I mean, you guys are in fucking Romania, you're in Eastern Europe, you should know, like the state used to run that shit. You know, we've been told for centuries what to think, how to think, you know, who we can and can't talk to, what countries are okay and what aren't. And now all of that's gone. I mean, yes, there's still the countries are in power, but this way of speaking right now, this is amazing because we're able to sit here and have this conversation and get to some deeper meanings here that used to be impossible, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, due to technology, I found you guys on Instagram on an ad. I mean,
That's great.
that's very awesome. It was really the song Humpty Dumpty that I found on Instagram scrolling through stories and found this song.
Cool.
Like, man, this rocks. I gotta check it out. And I checked all the songs I can found, and you immediately had one fan, and it was I think last year, the year before when you released Bullies,
Oh yeah.
the new album, and I've listened to it in Traeger on YouTube multiple times. I have my favorite song.
Oh
And,
yeah.
yeah. I really like Candy.
Oh cool. Okay.
From,
Yeah.
from it, and also the title, Bullies, the title song. How was the inspiration for that album? I mean, is the title Bullies have the meaning with the album, or is it
Yeah,
just one
yeah.
song?
That was once again. So when Acid Tongue began, because I've been living a bit. My wife is French, and I just moved back to right before the pandemic began. I moved back into the States from Paris. But I think living abroad during the Trump administration meant that I was always having to answer for people that voted for Trump. And, you know, it's really interesting to be on tour and have someone come up to you and be like, why did you vote for Trump? And me to go, I didn't. I live in a democracy and this motherfucker got voted in. I know he's a piece of shit. I don't like him. And that's a conversation I felt I was constantly having. And not just about him, but I think about Republican politicians, about our way of doing things. And I was kind of really irritated about the fact that these people get into power being bullies. And it got me thinking also about how interactions just between one human to another can be sort of a sense of bullying. You know, when someone, your parents do it to you, you know, your teachers do it to you, the fucking police do it to you. You know, we are surrounded by bullies 24/7 from the day we're fucking born, you know, and we don't know it all the time, but they're there, you know, and they're calling the shots, you know, and I have a lot of contempt and hatred towards bullies. You know, I will never tolerate that shit. And that this song is written about that because these motherfuckers need to go down.
Yeah, and also the artwork, I think it represents Bullies, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome album and awesome songs. Like
Thank you.
The first album, really digging it too.
I'm glad somebody listened to it.
Yeah, man, it's really great.
You're my second listener.
Bogdan?
For example, I have a question that is not on specifically your music right now. For example, if you had the opportunity to have an object from one of your favorite musicians, what can that object be?
Ooh.
Really, really tough.
Yeah.
You must pick just one.
Oh, Bo Diddley's guitar, no question.
Ooh. I was about to think you were saying the Jimi Hendrix guitar or Eric Clapton's guitar.
No, fuck that. Bo Diddley's guitar. He built his guitar himself. Bo Diddley.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Brian May.
Yeah.
With his guitar.
Yeah. Brian May ripped off Bo Diddley. He got the inspiration from Bo Diddley. You know? Yeah.
I wanted to ask, what are your plans, your future plans? I mean, I know it's pandemic right now or all the plans are postponed, but beyond that, let's think beyond the pandemic when it's all over. What do you guys plan to do?
When is this going to air? Because there's some things I can talk about if I have time till it airs. When does this air?
Next Monday.
Next Monday? I think we announced next month. Okay, I could talk about it. It's fine. I am working on someone else's record right now. There is a girl from Seattle named Shayna Shepherd. She's a singer from a band called Bear Axe. That's just an underground rock band here. But you guys should check out Shayna Shepherd. She's a freak out artist. She's already a freak out artist. We put out 2 songs and we're releasing a 7-inch right now. And I have been really, really, really involved with her for the past year, sort of shaping her debut record and helping to contribute to the performances, production, the whole thing. The label's going to be involved somewhat in putting this out. And there are other sort of bigger names from Seattle that I cannot mention right now that will be on this, but this is kind of a really important record to all of us right now. And it is going to be something I'm really proud of having worked on for the past year. And so that's almost done. And that's kind of what I'm actively dealing with right now, that I'm preparing for the future with. And Shayna is probably not someone I would tour with necessarily because I have my own career, but I may do more music with her or start producing more records. So because of the pandemic, kind of forcing my hand to learn more about the studio, I think that I'm going to be more in the studio in the next few years and hopefully involved with some artists that I really care about and want to see do better. And so I'm writing a lot of music. I also started a new project with my friends from Mexico City, and the band is called Mala Suerte. And we're good. It's some really heavy, like punk, psychedelic, like garage rock that I'm fucking super hyped about. And maybe I'll send you guys a private link after this to check out if you'd like to preview that.
Please.
But I'll chat you guys the link right now and see if you want to copy that. But this is probably the band of what I'm going to tour with other than Acid Tongue. This is what I'm most excited about right now, is going through Mexico and South America with these guys as soon as possible. As soon as those countries open up, I'm going to be playing some serious fucking punk rock all over the place.
You're playing
guitar.
It's very nice.
It's guitar, and I don't sing I wrote some of the vocals, but the singer is from a band called Carry On Kids in Mexico City. And his wife, Yasmina, so the guy's name is Miguel, and his wife, Yasmina, is sometimes my keyboard player for Acid Tongue on the road. I met her, and so they're married, and they have their own other bands in Mexico, but I decided to kind of form a super group with them. And then the guitar player is my friend from this Freak Out Records band called the Grizzled Mighty. They're like a garage punk band, so it all fits together, you know, in this cool, we're like a fucking ultra group together, you know,
like a musical family.
Yes, absolutely. So
Awesome.
It's way different than Acid Tongue. It's nothing like Acid Tongue. When you hear it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, this is fucking cool, you know.
I think it's great that you can play the music you play with Acid Tongue and do other projects that are other genres, you know.
Definitely.
It's great to explore and maybe grab some of that and bring it to this kind of music and this kind of music to that kind of music and just combine it. Have fun with it.
You're right. And again, that's the internet for the win, right? Because that's what makes this shit possible, is technology, that sort of thing. We recorded this entire Mala Suerte record using WeTransfer because we're locked down in different countries right now. So we were in my apartment for part of it and a studio for part of it here. And then we were going back and forth on Dropbox and WeTransfer to send each other each piece of the record. So you're not even hearing us playing together, but it sounds like we're playing together, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think the drums were the hardest to record because they aren't allowed the same instrument.
Yeah, that was really difficult. That's true. And we had our friend Andrew go in and do that for us, and he was trying so much to it. Like, I don't know if this is gonna work, guys.
Drums are a pain in the ass to record.
Always.
Acoustic drums, because with electronic drums they are simpler, but acoustic drums,
Well, the drums ended up sounding fucking huge on this record. So let me know what you guys think, because
Awesome.
I'm pretty excited to get out on the road with it soon.
Awesome. By any chance, are you planning to come to Europe? After the pandemic, of course.
I have to go back. So my wife and I want to go back to France to see family, hopefully this summer. And we might do limited traveling, but because it's still very heavy pandemic right now, it's who knows, you guys with the AstraZeneca and everything, that's sucks. But like, I'm hoping that by next spring, I can do a much bigger tour of Europe behind. Acid Tongue should have a new record out beginning next. We're gonna have 2 EPs coming out within the next 6 months. So we did some collaboration songs. My next song, the Death Valley Girls, Calvin Love, a bunch of these artists we're friends with they did songs with us through the pandemic as well, also using WeTransfer and shit. And we recorded some EPs, and then we're going to have a full length out, and I want to go on tours, once all that's dropped. That would be exciting. So we'll see what happens though, because I can only really tour with Acid Tongue when it's becoming a bigger and bigger band on the road. And so I need to make sure I can get out with like 4 or 5 people now to perform. These songs are becoming so large with the string arrangements and a lot of this stuff that's starting to happen that I imagine we're going to need new members.
Yeah.
So if you guys know anybody in Romania, let me know. If you know anybody that wants to go on tour.
we will. You guys posted a live concert about a week ago from Nectar.
Yes, that's right.
That recorded in the pandemic?
Yeah, we did it during the election. We were trying to get out the vote, and so it was like it was promoting voting in Georgia. And so Georgia was a big swing state in the United States, and because they're really, Georgia's fucked up. So we and we we want to talk shit about, that stuff. So, we did that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Bogdan?
For example, when you guys first started, you felt any pressure from the Seattle music? For example, from Seattle came very big band names like Nirvana or Alice in Chains. Did you feel any pressure coming out with your music?
No, I write, shit that I like. And I think when I was younger, maybe there was some pressure because I thought there was some sort of storybook to the industry or manual to how things work. And the older I've gotten and the smarter I've gotten about this, I've realized that you're always inventing your own narrative. And so releasing music to me doesn't really, I don't think about the legacy of the city I live in. I think about my legacy here more. I try to bring my things to this city and I do what I can to help Seattle. But if Seattle has any expectations for me, I don't know what those would be, and it's hard for me to really to feel like any sort of intimidation because I'm obviously like a fan of all those grunge bands and I love that music, but that was such a different era in what we are as a city. And it was such a different time in the industry that people just don't write music like that anymore. Things have changed on some level. And I feel I found my own voice. I think that, I might not be as famous as those guys yet, but or maybe never, but I like what I do. And I'm comfortable knowing that I never really wanted to have a stylist dressing me up. I never wanted to be putting makeup on for these things. It's fun when it's in a music video and we're taking the piss out of everything, but I don't care about MTV. I never cared about those sorts of things, charting on the radio. I just want to make what I want to make. And if people like that, that's fine. And they seem to, I'm a million miles away from you guys right now.
Yeah.
Very true.
I mean, it's very great music, and we wish you success. And I do hope we'll see and hear a lot of great stuff from you guys in the future.
Thank you.
I mean,
and
your fan base is growing, and I see on videos that you have more and more views each day, which is great. And
well,
we hope you reach millions of views.
You guys got to keep in touch, and please keep giving a fucking big middle finger to all the pieces of shit that try to tell you what to do with your life. I'm tired. I'm sorry. We're having a crazy day in Seattle right now, so I'm already ready to party,
Yeah.
But enjoy yourselves tonight, get some good rest, and I will talk to you guys soon, Thanks for having me on today.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The one last thing, is there something you wanna tell to the people on this podcast? Where can they find you on social media? Anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm at Acid Tounge, I think, on Instagram and Facebook and all of that, or something near that. Don't mix me up with the Jenny Lewis record, Acid Tounge.
Yeah.
Yeah. We made a joke about that on our record, just to mess with it. But yeah, I'm around, and really it's Freak Out Records that you want to follow, because that's where all my projects are going to go through, and you're going to see those things pop up on Freak Out in the future. So just follow anything related to Freak Out Records. I think there may be another festival called Freak Out, but we're Freak Out with one word, and you can find that at freakoutrecrec.com.
Okay.
So yeah, so thank you guys so much for having me on. I mean, I'm just stoked that you guys are really into this, and I appreciate your time, man.
And we appreciate yours. Thank you very much.
And we appreciate also the time that for the people that watched us and heard us, and for all of you that you watched us. Have a nice day or a good night.
Yeah. It wouldn't be possible without the listeners.
ZăPodcast cu Bogdan și Ghilea.